Okay. I think I can hear you now. You give me say something and see if it comes up.
Can you hear me now?
I think so. I'm going to test this in a minute. Keep talking.
Okay, so how was your day today?
Okay, I think it's working. All right. But hang on a minute. Let me just check before we take all this time to do this. Okay, I'm gonna believe that's gonna work. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna believe it, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So, Nicole and Frannie, are you both there?
Yeah, we're both here.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time out of your day for this. I really appreciate it, and out of your busy schedule. I want you to know what the reason is behind this. I mean, it's important for people to know why I'm doing this. In my opinion, because I'm just a civilian, I don't know what it's like out there. I have no idea, and I haven't gotten COVID. My son may have gotten it. My mom probably did, but I have not heard anything about it. And all I read about in the paper or in the news and people complaining and everything else. But I want a chance to find out about it more from the people who are dealing with it every day. And I think the majority of people feel the same way I do. And we want to thank you guys. We don't know what to do. How do we do that? How do we say thank you without being, over the top? And so I thought about it. And if we did it this way, if I had artists, hear your stories by audio, and then they created an image based upon those stories, and then we had a whole gallery exhibit of these stories, and people came back and looked at the art. I think that'd be a great way to showcase what you guys are going through to a large number of people, to a lot of people. That's the goal. That's the main reason why I'm doing this. So I want to make sure that you knew that. I'm not sponsored by a grant. There's no money behind this. I don't have any sponsors or anything like that. I'm just trying to solve a problem if I can. That's the goal. So. Okay. All right.
So are you going to talk to one of us and then talk to the next one?
Or we can do both. Whatever you want to do. What do you think is best? I like to have two stories, but it's up to you guys.
I think maybe if you want to talk to Frannie first.
Okay.
And then I could come back in, and then I can tell you mine.
Let's do that. Perfect. Okay, that works.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna let Frannie get over here in my chair then, and I'm gonna go out and swab some noses while she's doing it.
Oh my.
High five.
Okay. Happy swabbing.
Okay, and then I'll be right outside of my office, so Frannie can just holler at me when she's ready for me.
Cool.
And I will literally holler. Yeah, she will.
All right, that works. Thank you, Nicole.
Your glasses are on your face. Oh, shit. Oh, well.
Frannie.
Hello.
Thank you for being there, Frannie. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate being welcomed here.
So tell me, what is your role there at Good Shepherd?
I am an STNA.
Perfect. So you get to do all the work.
Yeah, all the hands-on, right down in the dirty.
Exactly, I believe. And how long have you been there?
I have been here since 2015.
Wow, 5 years. Fantastic.
Long time.
Yes. And so when you signed up to be, people know what STNAs have to do in most cases. So you have to care about people, that's for sure. That's a given. And
yeah, we definitely signed up for the job, but none of us knew we were signing up for a pandemic.
Exactly. So when you first heard about it, take me through those first couple of steps, the first couple of days or hours or minutes. Tell me how that started with you.
It hit all way different. Well, it hit way harder for me, which is, I think, why Nicole picked me, because my grandmother was also a resident here.
Oh.
So it hit me way harder because I'm like, it's all these people are my family, but I'm like, no, my family is here.
Wow.
So but it did hit us all the same. It was scary.
So what day was it, and do you remember that moment in time when it happened? When you were first told about it, what day was it? What time of day? Who told you how to work out?
I vaguely remember just like one of my residents was watching the news and was like, "Oh, did you hear about this new virus?" And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And then I want to say I'm pretty positive that like Nicole talked to us all. We had like a big meeting and like we tried to prevent full lockdown. So we were trying to keep them safe, but still not take everything away.
Right. And
So
this was March. This was February or March, or when was this?
March. We locked down in March.
Okay.
Because we were trying to. I don't want to say we were trying to put it off, but we care about these people. We didn't want to rip their families away from them.
Exactly. So the
so
lockdown.
We tried to do it slowly, and then we had no choice.
Right. So the lockdown comes, and you're not. Now, how did it work in the beginning? You weren't allowed anybody in the rooms. You weren't allowed any people could still visit it outside.
At first, we still allowed residents to have 2 visitors.
Okay.
They were allowed to come in at the same time, and they had to wear face masks and go straight to the residence room and nowhere else.
Okay.
And then from there, when it got more severe and we realized how severe it was, then we didn't allow families in at all anymore.
And when was that?
That was only about a month in.
Okay, so we're talking April now, April, May.
Yeah.
Okay. And how difficult was it explaining to the residents that? Because the residents, sometimes they understand, sometimes they forget. My mom's in a nursing home right now, and she always forgets all the time. How was that for you guys, having to constantly remind them of that?
It's hard because I don't think most of them fully grasped what was happening. And we were the bad guys for a very long time. They were mad at us.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought it was us doing it, and we had to explain to them over and over and over again, we don't want to do this. But, yeah, it was hard. We just had to keep telling them over and over again, that is what we have to do. We're going to keep you safe, and this is how we have to do it.
How were the families handling it when you first had to tell them?
Heartbreaking. I can't say that I felt like they were so much mad at us, but, like, they were hurt.
And I'm sure in the beginning was okay, but as this went on and it dragged on, it had to get worse. Tell me some of the worst times as far as, not being in that whole visitation thing. What were some of the worst days with that?
The absolute worst time of it all was when it hit us. Because we went very long without a single employee, without a single resident. We went months into this without having anything. It wasn't until the end of 2020 when we got our first case.
Really?
Yeah, we went the majority of this time so far without having any. And then when it hit us all at once, and it hit us very hard.
Wow.
We kept it out until, I want to say it was like November-ish.
Okay.
Or maybe September.
And when the first case hit, what did you think? What did you feel?
Nicole tried to keep it quiet. Like, she tried to let us know without scaring us and without, like, letting the residents, like, because it was a member that got it first.
Okay.
And she didn't want to scare us, and she didn't want to scare the residents. So she, like, came and found us each individually and was like, we had a positive. So, we had to upgrade our masks to the stronger masks. We had to start wearing, like, the face shields and gowns and stuff.
Okay.
And it was, like, sheer terror, because then it, like, felt like it was hitting home.
When you had started wearing masks in May, how did the residents take that?
Yeah, we were wearing surgical masks to begin with.
Right. How did the residents take that?
We upgraded to the N95s when we got our first case.
How did the residents handle that? Because they didn't see faces anymore. How did they handle that?
Very, very poorly. We had a resident, she would try to physically fight us because the mask scared her, because she didn't know who we were, why we were coming at her.
Oh, wow.
Some of the residents understood more than others, but then there were the really confused ones who were, like, scared, and they did not like the face mask.
Did she have false teeth?
Did she? No, she didn't have any teeth.
She didn't have any teeth?
No.
Or she tried to bite you?
No, I meant
Fight. I thought you said bite.
She was
Okay.
trying to fight us off.
Oh, wow.
Because she thought we were like, she didn't know who we were, and she just was scared because she didn't know what we were doing because she couldn't see who we were.
And did that ever lessen? Did she ever finally come around to realize, or is it still that way now?
She, once she started to be able to recognize us more by our voices, she was more okay.
Okay.
But like, that's another part where we're tricky because with the face mask and the face shields and all these new like layers in between us, the hard of hearing residents could hardly hear us.
Oh my gosh. I didn't think about that. You're right.
Yeah, it took away a lot of our means of communication with them because they couldn't see us. They couldn't see who we were besides a little bit of our faces where our eyes are. And unless they could hear really well, they could hardly hear us. We still struggle with some of them not being able to hear us.
That had to be such a challenge because you're trying to take care of them, and they're not. You can't, it's hard to fix that problem.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's not like we could just pull our face masks away and say, "It's me. I'm here to help you."
Right. What were some of the creative ways that you try to remind them that who you were? Were there any kind of things that you did that were different that you thought might have helped?
Well, the ones that really can't hear us, we adjusted and used like writing to talk to them.
Okay.
But then like a lot of the other ones, we could just like touch their arm and then like get close enough. I mean, obviously we're not allowed to get too close, but get close enough where we could be in their ear enough to say, it's me, it's okay, I'm here to help you.
Right. And especially because the trust factor's got to be there. Who's this person giving me medicine or pills?
Right.
It's a huge trust factor for them, and they have to get used to that. And if they can't see you,
especially when we're people that are trying to change them and clothe them, and they want to know why this person that they can't tell who they are or what they're doing, why they're trying to take their clothes off of them.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. Holy cow! Somebody I have no idea who they are in here trying to take my clothes off.
Yeah, it was a challenge at first. Like over time, it got easier. Like I can't say that it's easy, but it got easier when more of the residents started understanding more.
Wow. So you said that this is the first case. You guys went a long time then between April and November. You did a great job.
With nobody.
You did a great job. I mean, that's a long time without having any cases, which shows you how much the diligence you guys had.
Yeah, we really were very proud of how long. We're still very proud of the fact that we were able to keep it out so long.
Exactly.
But it's just when it finally did hit us, that's when it really hit us, and it took a huge emotional toll on all of us.
How fast did it spread? Do you know? How many days did it go from one person to more?
It spread around our staff a little bit before it ever hit a resident, but once it hit one resident, it hit them all.
Oh.
Within weeks, all of our residents had it.
Wow.
I think on my hall, we only have one resident who never got it.
What are some of the symptoms that you noticed right away from the residents?
We did a whole lot of research because we wanted to know everything we could know and everything to look for. And one of the things that saved us and made us catch it quick is we learned to check their eyes because their eyes get red.
Really?
Yeah, and that was one of the things that weren't really ever put out in the news or anything.
No.
That was one of the things we learned by researching it.
No.
So when we see a resident with red eyes, we're like, oh, we need to test them. And 9 times out of 10, they were positive.
Wow, that is such a unique, I never even knew that. And I've never even heard of that at all, ever. Not even from hospitals.
And then some of ours, like people who normally breathe well, would start saying they're having a hard time breathing. So we're like, well, we need to test them.
Were there any kind of memory issues?
Like us aides that were saying this stuff because we're the ones that are like hands-on with them all the time. So we were the ones like, no, this person needs checked.
Exactly. Were there any kind of memory issues with people who had it?
Yeah, my grandmother actually was one who she had the neurological aftermath of it. And yeah, some of them they completely, I don't want to say completely forget, they aren't the same.
Yeah, share your grandmother's experience. Like my mom had the same thing for a month, And it was really unusual. I saved all the voicemails that she would call me up. So share with me some of yours that your grandmother had that you experienced with that.
My grandmother, I was very, very, very close to my grandmother. I was her girl. I was the one who took care of her day in and day out. And I knew something was wrong with her and that her mind was messed up, because when she got back from our COVID unit and I could finally be around her again, because I didn't work the COVID unit.
Okay.
We only had specific staff that worked the COVID unit. But when she came back, she didn't know who I was. She said, well, not so much she didn't know who I was. She knew I was her granddaughter. But she was like, you don't take care of me. I don't know what you're doing in here.
Wow.
And a lot of our residents, even to this day, months later, they still have not fully mentally bounced back. And, like, they just don't remember, like, much of, like, it's more like short-term memory. They don't remember anything that just happened.
My mom, I knew something was wrong because my mom called me up. My dad died in 2019 in December. And she was fantastic when the day it happened. It was amazing to me how she handled it. And I always, she's got Alzheimer's, so I always feared that she would forget that he died. That was my fear. And we had to relive the death every day. So she didn't. She was wonderful. And she never forgot that he died. And we talk about him every day and so on and so forth. And so I get like 6 phone calls in a row asking where her husband's at. And I'm like, this is so unusual. This is in November. I said, this is so unusual. Why is she now not knowing where her husband's at right now? So I talked to the nurses and they said, yeah, they think she's positive for COVID. And that went on for, a good 3-4 weeks. And then she came back around and now she's back to normal again. But that was...
Yeah, some of ours, they came back to normal after like a couple of weeks of it. And then there's others who are still not themselves again.
Did your grandmother survive it?
No.
Oh my.
It wasn't, she didn't, it was the aftermath of COVID, because a lot of people don't realize that there is an aftermath after they have it. She was just so tired from fighting it because she wanted to fight it so hard and get through it that when she finally did get through it, her body was exhausted and couldn't go on anymore. Share
that with me. When you say fighting it and then not being able to fight it anymore when she's over it, I'm not a health person, so I don't know how that works.
Because my grandmother had chronic emphysema, COPD, and asthma, so she already had really bad lungs to begin with.
Okay.
Which is why COVID terrified me so much, because I knew if she got it, she would die. So when she got it, and she was so scared, and she knew how scared I was, then she, she was like, I promise I'm going to get through it. So she, kept her mind, going. It was the mental aspect of it. She convinced herself she's okay. She's going to fight through it. She's going to make it through. So then she did, and she kept fighting it. And then, she was just so exhausted that she didn't have that positivity to keep her mind going anymore. And then, when she didn't, she stopped convincing herself that she was going to make it. She just was exhausted, and she was like, I just need to go now.
How many days was that when you realized that she said, I'm done fighting it? And then how many days was that until she passed?
It was a couple weeks later. She held on for a little longer afterwards, but it was as soon as she came back, I noticed a difference in her. And then probably, I would say, less than a week later, she just said she was just so tired. She couldn't do it anymore. And then I ended up getting COVID, so I wasn't here for that time. I had to be away and quarantined. So she held on then, but she was she wasn't really with it. She was more in the sleeping stages where she was just tired all the time, not talking, not eating. And then the day I came back for me having COVID, she died.
Did you get a chance to see her before she died?
Yeah. It might sound lame and cheesy, but I think she held on until she could see me again.
I think she did too. That's why I asked the question. I think she did too.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And it was the day I was allowed to come back, and it was the day she died.
What time of day?
They called me at 4:30 in the morning, and I was in here instantly. I live a half an hour away from where I work, but I was in here the soonest I could be. And then I was here until like 9. And then I had to go home because I had to, like, that was at that point, that's when my spouse was leaving for work. I had to figure out what we were going to do with our son. So I went home to take a nap because I hadn't been to sleep yet and figure out where I'm going to take my son. And then right after I got home was when she died. So it was early. It was like between 9 and 10 in the morning.
But you got a chance to say goodbye though, right?
I got to be with her and spend time with her, but then she waited until I left to actually die.
Wow. Wow. When you notify next
But
to,
I got lucky because nobody else gets that.
yeah, they don't. That's what I was going to ask the question. How do you notify next of kin that their loved ones are passing and then they can't see them? How do you work that?
It's hard. We actually, because right now we make end of life exceptions for visitation, but if they have COVID and they're on the COVID wing, then they're not allowed in here at all. Like, so if somebody is dying, not COVID related, we allow a family member to come sit with them and be with them so they're not alone when they die and they're allowed to say their goodbyes.
That's good.
But if it's somebody who has COVID, which we had a lot when most of our residents had COVID, we weren't allowed to have families come in. So we just had to update them over the phone, and we had to be the bad guys that are like, so-and-so is currently passing away, but, sorry, we can't let you in. What we did a lot of the time, though, because there were a lot of people where the families were like, send them to the hospital or do this or do that. And the doctors would say, tell us that there's no point in them going to the hospital. They're going to die because there's nothing they can do at this point. So what we would do instead of, we didn't want them to go to the hospital and die alone. We wanted them to be with people that they loved and that they knew so they weren't alone. So we had some of our staff, we all signed up to come in on our off time and sit with our residents that were passing in COVID.
Wow.
So that way they weren't fully alone. They still had somebody that they knew and loved with them because their family couldn't be with them.
That had to take a toll when you're doing that more than once, I would think.
It's hard. We lost probably about 22 residents from COVID.
Holy cow.
So we had to do it a lot, and it hurt us, but we just were happy that we could do something so they weren't alone.
Okay, you lived through that. I've just heard it. So give me a minute to adjust. I'm just trying to imagine that you get the phone call or it's your turn or whatever, and you got to sit there and watch someone die because you know it's going to happen again. And that, yes, you're doing a wonderful, wonderful thing, and you're volunteering to do a wonderful, wonderful thing that is just the hardest thing in the world. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that you're volunteering to be the only person that they can watch die. I mean, that's. Oh.
It hurt, but in the time, I guess we knew we needed to do it. We wanted to do it.
That's the amazing thing.
And it sucked, but
that's the amazing thing about it, Frannie, is that you volunteered to do the worst thing in the world, in my opinion, and you volunteered for that. Wow.
We wanted to. We love them. They're people.
You know.
And I knew that if I couldn't be with my grandma, I would want somebody that cares about her to be with her.
It puts my mom in perspective right now. You know, I talk to her about every day, at least every day. And she's in Cleveland. And so I'd go up and see her, every weekend. I'd take her to lunch. We had to put her in assisted living because she tried killing herself twice in a month.
Oh.
So we had to make sure she wasn't going to do that anymore with my dad. So they've been there where he was there for 5 years. She's been there for 6, but it puts us in perspective about what could happen and how wonderful she really is. And I'll call her today again, like I always do. But I am so impacted by the fact that you wanted to do something that you had to do. I agree with you 100%. But the hardest thing in the world is to watch someone die. But what's worse than that is having them die alone, and you know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you did the next
And
thing
just
that was,
after spending years with these people, they feel like our own family. So, you know, the last thing we wanted was for them to be, and it's scary because, you know, these people were just fine days ago and now
Yes.
they're dying. So we know they're scared, and we didn't want them to be scared or alone or hurting because we genuinely and truly love and care for these people. Especially the ones, I don't want to say especially like we would put them above other ones, but you know, we've been around some of these people for years. I've been around some of these people for almost 6 years now.
yes. I have an analytical question for you. All right, this is my analytical side of my head. Did you notice anything spiritually happening when they would pass? Did you feel anything? Did you sense anything? Was there anything different?
We always kind of believed this thing to open a window because we always feel like you can feel it. I don't know how to explain it, but you can.
Please.
And we always open a window so they aren't trapped. They can fly away.
That's amazing. Please say that again. And I won't interrupt you.
We always open a window so that way they aren't trapped in the room and they can fly away. We always have a window cracked where we know somebody's about to pass.
That is fantastic. And did you ever sense the soul leaving?
You can feel it. I really wish I knew how to explain it better, but like it's almost like a sense of relief. Like, I don't know, in that moment, you just kind of feel like, I don't know, you don't necessarily, I don't want to say you aren't hurting in that moment, but you know that they're okay, and it's like a weight off of you, so it's like you do feel them leaving.
Right. I don't mean to pry into that, but it's just an unusual situation that you saw multiple times in a short period of time. Enabled enough to compare different situations. That's highly unusual, but it happens every day. But it's highly unusual.
Right.
That's why it's intriguing to me from the analytical side. Like, you saw death occur often with just you and the person dying. No other distractions, nothing else. And so to observe and to notice and to feel that over and over again is a rare, please take us the right way. It's a rare opportunity.
It definitely is. As hard as it is, I am very thankful to do what I do during all of this.
And I'm sure there are many families that are also as thankful. And how do the families respond to that, knowing that you had people there all the time to watch over them at the end? Were they thankful as well?
I cannot tell you how many thank yous we've gotten and how much appreciation. Our families here have been so amazing. And they're always sending us stuff and food, and they'll buy our meals and stuff, and they're like, you know, saying that they wish they could do more, but we're like, trust us, you're doing more than enough.
Well, I'm sure they'll be at the grand opening of the gallery exhibit, because I want to make sure we get it out there to the families of the people there, because they want to show that it's a way to show thank you, and you're getting it, you're seeing it, you're witnessing it, but at the same time, you know, you didn't sign up for this. This is not part of I'm sure that when you went to STNA school, they didn't say, well, now during a pandemic, this is what you're going to expect. And so it's amazing what you guys are doing.
It's just like as great, like we do definitely get a whole lot of appreciation. We do definitely get a whole lot of love, but and I'm not ungrateful for that by any means at all. I think everybody's been so amazing. But then there is the especially when we were going through the COVID, we were criticized so much. Yeah. And we were told we aren't doing our job, and we aren't doing enough, and we aren't being good enough, and that they deserve better.
But especially since you went from April to November.
Yeah. And then just the fact of when it hit us, everybody got it all at once and everybody was sick and we were losing so many residents. There were people that were very great, but there were also the people that weren't. And we got a whole lot of nasty criticism and nasty comments and a lot of horrible things said to us in the time too, because all of our residents were getting it and they would, it hurt us because we know all that we're doing and we do know that we are trying our best and doing our best. But in that moment, when somebody's telling you aren't doing enough, you're like, dang it, I should have done something different. I should have done something better.
And you have to rely upon each other at that point, you know, the fellow employees to support each other because you're not getting it from the outside as much.
And especially when my grandma ended up with it.
Yes.
When she tested positive, I was at home because they had to do a rapid test on her. So it was nighttime when we found out she had it. And they called me and told me that she had it. And I just felt like a failure. And that's how a lot of us felt when a lot of our residents were getting it. We just felt like we failed.
I could see
because
that.
Then we were looking for every little thing we could have done differently, something we could have done better. And then we're like, oh my gosh, what if I'm the one that carried it in? When my grandma tested positive, I came in the next morning. I said, test me. I have to have it. I'm the one that gave it to her.
You know, it's something I didn't think about, but the guilt that you have when you're a caretaker and then this happens and you didn't mean it, you didn't do it on purpose, but it happens. And then you hear people saying that it's fake, it's not real, it's all government made up and everything else. And you're seeing it and witnessing it every day.
Yeah, it's our reality. And then there's people saying it's not real. And that cuts like a knife too, because I'm like, I promise you, it's very real.
And this is part of the reason why I'm doing this, because I want people to see that it is real, that it is happening. Because many people don't see it or witness it. They don't have no idea. Wow.
I don't think that, I feel like if people don't feel the emotional turmoil themselves, they don't fully grasp it.
What do you?
Because as much as we love what we're doing, we have hurt so bad and felt so guilty. And even to this day, even now that we're past our big wave of it, even to this day, we're like, dang, we wouldn't have lost all those residents if maybe we would have done stuff differently.
Here's just a question, just to go, I can put it in perspective. The average number of residents that you lose on a normal day, let's say in 2019 or in a month, is how many? One?
Maybe.
And how much you lose in
maybe one a month.
Okay, let's say one every other month, okay? How many did you lose in November? Or December? Just approximately.
All 20-something of our deaths were within a month of each other.
Oh my God.
And normally, holidays are really rough. We do generally lose a lot of residents during the holidays, but never like this.
You had 4 years.
Every day, more people were dying.
You had 4 years of deaths put together in 1 month.
Yeah, it's rough.
Wow. Wow. Well, okay. 2 questions, because I want to keep you, and I don't want to. I want to have you take too long what you're doing. If you can, give me two situations. One, what do you wish people will feel when they see the artwork of all these stories? What do you wish people would feel?
I wish that I want people to feel that I want people to understand our hurt and our guilt, but also at the same time, our love. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, Frannie.
We really hurt and we really felt so guilty, but there's so much love and we love these people. And honest to God, I would do it again in a heartbeat if I had to for these people. I would go through it all again if I had to, just so that they would have me.
Well, I hope
they can't have anybody else.
I hope that gets conveyed, and I'll make. You know what? I'm going to make sure that statement is said at the grand opening of the exhibit, because that's something I didn't hear before, but it's so true. because of the guilt, because you feel like that, like, as you just said, you kept it away for 6, 7 months and then something happens and now you feel guilty as heck because of that. Not the success that you had for all those months, the failure you had.
In that moment, we instantly forgot how well we did for so long because all we felt was the hurt of this hiccup.
Exactly. Wow. Well, Frannie, I'm going to make sure that gets conveyed. Truly.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. The artists should be getting these. Here's what I'm doing. I'm having 2 sets of artists listen to the stories, okay? And I'll tell you the reason why. One is a professional artist because you guys deserve professional artwork. And it's going to be 2 foot by 2 foot. That's the minimum size, okay? It'll be framed and in glass because I want you guys to have something that you can look back on when you're 50, 60, 70 years old and say, I was through that. When your grandchildren ask, what's that picture of? You can say, it was what I went through. All right, that's the main reason why I'm doing it for the professional artists. And then I'm also giving it to students at a high school because I want them to understand and grasp what's going on around them because they always live in a bubble. So we're having high school students interpret the same story as well as we have professional artists interpret the same story. So we'll have 2 sets of artwork. One will be framed in glass. In the high school, I don't know how good it's going to be, but it may not be framed or in a glass. But I've got airports and I've got businesses that really want to see this and have this in their possession for a display. So we have a lot of people that want to sense this and see this exhibit. And as for the airports, I'm telling you, I've got Cleveland, Washington Dulles, and Reagan National want to do this. I've also got a support from Walter Reed National Hospital to want to have an exhibit as well on Veterans Day in their hospital. So there's a lot of people who are going to see your story. And I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you taking the measures to do all this too, because I know that some people do take the time to think about how we feel and what has gone on like behind the walls of all this, but I do know a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't fully grasp the reality of it. Well,
I had no idea what it's like to be in your shoes, and I have a little sense of it right now, and it's still shocking to me. I'm going to have to I want you to tell Nicole, I'm going to have to record her some other time because this really took a lot out of me.
Okay.
And I don't think I can handle, I can't do a good job interviewing her knowing that I'm still feeling everything you told me. Wow. Okay, Frannie, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will let you know when the artwork gets created, and then I'd like you to meet the artist when it happens. I'll be there at the unveiling, okay?
Okay.
That way you can meet the artist at that point. The artist will not meet you. They don't know who you are. All they're gonna hear is the story, that's it. And the goal is for them to create an image based upon that story, whatever strikes them, okay? That's the goal.
Okay.
Thank you, Frannie. Tell Nicole I'll get back to her by email, and she can pick a date between now and Friday, and then we'll do it again.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frannie. See you.
Bye.
Bye.